You are watching DHTV from California State University, Dominguez Hills.
Okay, now we're going to come to a conclusion with regards to the course, and we're going to try to appreciate, as I shared with you, the significance of neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is haunting us throughout this generation. It's been institutionalized by both the Democratic and the Republican parties, especially when you take a look at the elections since 1992, with the election of, actually since 1988, with the election of Papa Bush, and then with the election of Clinton, Bill Clinton, and then the election of son of a Bush, and then with the election of Obama, and then now Trump. And that is primarily the significance of neoliberalism. So again, I want to conclude the class with helping you appreciate the last cycle. We are in the last cycle, and hopefully the changes are going to be coming as long as your generation kind of wakes up and recognizes the cycles of change. So the neoliberal tradition. The neoliberal tradition, of course, is to continue the ways of the economy under Reaganomics. In fact, what's going to happen is that the conservative right is going to determine the nature of the debate, and liberals are going to comply. This is going to be known and identified as the Washington Consensus. So the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, since the 1990s, you really can't tell the difference. The conservative right has determined the nature of the debate, and so of course what they're doing is they're going to label liberalism, which has nothing to do with socialism, students. You should recognize this, especially as you listen to conservative right-wing televangelists, the conservative element, Fox News, as they attempt to share with you that liberals are socialists. You should know that this is not true at all if you've been studying and understanding certain things about the socialist tradition. The idea is to just dismantle the regulatory state. In the New Deal, in the Great Society, stop Social Security, stop Medicaid, stop any kind of protection for the environment. Right? And one of the most important things that I've shared with you in the class is the collapse of the Soviet Union and of course China, because both of these, which were quote unquote totalitarian dictatorships of the left, they had nothing to do with socialism, but yet everybody was kind of framing the socialist dialogue onto these totalitarian dictatorships that happened with Russia and with China. And of course, both of those countries now have nothing to do with socialism. Both of those countries have everything to do with neoliberalism and the classic state capitalist modes of production. But the United States in the 1990s needed to create a new enemy so as to continue the military-industrial complex, and that new enemy became a religion, and now it is Islam. So under the doctrines, the foreign policy doctrines of Bush the First, of Clinton, and with regards to Bush the Second, these doctrines have emphasized again the neoliberal tradition. So that after 9/11, what we do is we get the rise of a fascist state. And so of course, you've got to understand that the rise of this state started with the George Bush administration, the second administration. I call him son of a Bush. But since 1988, the Republican agenda has been involved with negative campaigning. The idea is to have personal attacks, vicious attacks against Democrats. It becomes a permanent feature of the party, and you'll see it in every election cycle, 1992, 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, and no doubt it's coming up in 2020. We'll see the passage of the Patriot Act, and of course the false war on Iraq. The fact that Iraq didn't have weapons of mass destruction, but what we see is a reaction, a conservative reaction to America, and the creation of what they call lies, what were called lies, but now are known as alternative facts. It's anti-immigrant, it's anti-Muslim, it's anti-queer. We have a rise of a billionaire class that have taken over the political and judicial systems. They call it oligarchic rule. Okay, the and what has been happening as a result of the deregulatory state is you have the privatization of the military, you have the privatization of the prison industry, you have the privatization of education. There's been a permanent war economy at home, a permanent war economy abroad. And so this is what led to the acceptance of Donald Trump as president, as Donald Trump has become a populist racist. But there is some hope. There is some hope in the new generation, and that hope is we're seeing the socialist agenda reappearing. And so welcome people to understand it was Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders' campaign that got the Democratic Party at least to become interested in socialist organizing. It is Bernie Sanders' campaign, if we can put in the socialist agenda reappearing, that is the significance of where we're at today in the 21st century, where Bernie Sanders gave hope to everyone, okay? So out of Bernie Sanders' campaign, especially with the election of Donald Trump, we see a women's rights revolution, the significance of Black Lives Matters. Immigrant rights, there's demonstrations left and right, especially with regards to what's going on in the horrendous conditions that immigrants are facing in today's private prison industry along the border. The gay, lesbian, queer organizing is at an all-time high. And most importantly now, climate change activism. The climate change activists are involved in making sure that America wakes up to what is occurring around them. And significantly is the return of unions and union organizing, especially as a result of the privatization of education. We're seeing teachers' strikes. The teachers are the ones that are the mainstay of education for the new generation, and they are demanding changes. And then, of course, most importantly is that the United States has never listened to Native peoples, and Native peoples of the entire Western Hemisphere are involved in resistance movements, especially because of climate change. So the 2018 congressional elections gave us a very important Congress that begins to challenge the Trump administration, and we're in for a ride. So thank you for taking the course, and let's understand something about resisting and surviving. We must resist the New World Order. Thank you.